Week 7 of Dana White's Contender Series is this week. I'm going to give you a prediction and breakdown of all 5 fights on this card, starting with Igor da Silva versus Jhonata Silva. I think I am going to go with Igor da Silva. This is a very interesting matchup because these guys are both pretty young, but they both show different areas of skill. And I think Jhonata Silva is actually a pretty solid underdog in this matchup. Jhonata Silva is very good on the feet. He's a little bit more patient, but he has shown some issues defending the takedowns, especially in the grappling. There have been some issues there, but Igor da Silva, I would say a little bit more of an all-around fighter. I mean, he's solid on the feet and he can get takedowns and he's a good grappler. So this one's, again, a very interesting matchup, but I just am going to go with Igor da Silva. I think he has more options there. I think he can push a pace, move forward, land some really good strikes, and then go for takedowns and land good strikes on the ground, which I don't think Jhonata Silva will be able to do. But maybe Jhonata Silva, very patient, defends the takedowns very early on and KOs Igor da Silva. I am going to go with Igor da Silva in this matchup, but I think he does finish this one probably in the second round. If not, I can see this actually going to the decision. I don't know if he can finish Jhonata Silva. Silva's a tough guy, and Igor da Silva is 20 years of age, so he's still very young. He's still going to develop a little bit more. He's going to be a little bit more raw in this matchup. So that's why I think Jhonata Silva might be a pretty sweet underdog here, but I am going to go with da Silva in this one. I will say probably either a late round finish or a decision in this one. 85% Tapology is picking da Silva in this matchup, 59% by decision, 18% by submission, and 17% by TKO KO. I think that's probably about right. I don't know if he finishes Jhonata Silva on the feet, but maybe on the ground. Maybe he knocks him down, jumps on him on the ground, and gets a quick sub. But if you're looking at a finish, I think it would probably be like him cutting him open in like the second or third round and just wearing and tearing on him, landing some really good ground and pound to get the win. I don't think it's going to be like a KO or anything like that. So it's either going to be a decision or a super late round finish in my mind. Up the card, we have Kaynan Kruschewsky versus Dylan Mantello. I know I just absolutely destroyed his name there. All right. I'm going to go with Kaynan in this matchup. Dylan Mantello did not look good in his last fight at all against Charlie Alexander. Like, he looked shockingly bad in that one. I was actually surprised the UFC allowed him. No, I wouldn't say allowed him. I guess it's a little rude, but I'm surprised that the UFC looked at him to go on Dana White's Contender Series, because in his last matchup, he's getting his leg torn up. He does have a really good jab, but he's getting hit pretty hard on the feet. I think he even got knocked down. Was getting beat up in his guard. And then eventually, with 9 seconds left, he puts in a guillotine choke, and the guy just taps out immediately, like wasn't even going to go out, and he just wasn't aware of what the time was on the clock. So he just did not look good in his last fight at all. And I think striking-wise, he's very open on the feet. His chin's very much outwards. Kaynan is also open. So it is going to be a very interesting matchup, but I just think he's going to be able to have a little bit more output, put a little bit more pressure on Mantello, and then look for takedowns and land some really good strikes on the ground as well, land some ground and pound, and possibly get a submission here. I don't mind him finishing him up on the ground due to ground and pound either, because Dylan Mantello, even on the feet, because Mantello just doesn't move his head. He's very open. His leg's just sitting out there where his leg's going to get torn up. I can just see, honestly, Kaynan just finishing him up. I won't say on the feet. I think if anything, he'll get dropped and maybe some ground and pound shots. So I guess maybe on the feet. But I think he does end up mixing in some takedowns, making it a little bit tricky for Mantello in this match. But I think he ends up getting the finish. I think probably in the second round, maybe late first round in this matchup, it would be more interesting to see what these guys look like opening up in this matchup, because Mantello can be a very patient guy. And I think Kaynan can also come out there and just pressure him immediately. So we'll see how this one goes. I am going to go with Kaynan in this one by finish. 86% of the Tapology is picking Kaynan in this one, 63% by KO, 12% by submission, and 18% by decision. I am going to go with Kaynan Kruschewsky in this one. Up the card, we have Talita Alencar versus Stephanie Luciano. I think I'm going to go with Talita Alencar. She does train out of a very good camp out of MMA Masters, at least for the women that are coming out of there, who I think at a base level are decently skilled, like your Priscilla Cachoeira, your Alu Perez. I think even like Gabriela Fernandez trains out of there, and she's looked solid in the UFC so far. So just to look, I guess Tapology, just whoever is even in freaking MMA Masters for a second or any other camp, they just keep them in here, so you can't really know who exactly is actually training out of these gyms right now. But I believe if that's correct off the top of my head. I could be wrong though on Gabriela Fernandez. I know Perez and Cachoeira train out of there for sure, but she does have some good training partners. I believe she is like a jiu-jitsu world champ. She has a pretty long grappling career before entering MMA, She beat Stacy Vega, Laura Milena Contreras, Karen Quintero, Kelsey Arneson. Last fight was in LFA, Titan FC. So some decent little companies that she's been fighting out of. For Stephanie Luciano, her last fight was against Karina Aryadine. I don't know how to even say her name. She won that one by decision. 5-0 opponent, 2-0 opponent beat Island Oliveira 11 months ago, and then lost to Andressa Romero by decision. So I think I am going to go with Talita Alencar. For Stephanie Luciano, I think she's a little bit more, I'll say she does pressure quite a bit. Her striking is going to be better than Talita Alencar because that game is not as developed as her ground game for Alencar. But for Luciano, she will go forward. She's going to be better on the feet here. But Alencar actually shoots some really good takedowns, although they're not the best. She does time them pretty well and has gotten a lot better. I think she ends up getting the takedowns on Luciano. And what I've noticed, I mentioned this in the last video, is that for these women's fighters, I feel like they are approaching these Dana White Contender Series fights a little bit more differently. I don't know what it is, but it seems like if these ladies are talented in one aspect of their game, they're gonna try and get the win there. For some of these men, like you'll see them with like great wrestling, great grappling, and then they'll try to strike on the feet with a striker, and it's the weirdest thing ever. So I think she'll end up going for takedowns here. I think she's going to time it really well on Luciano, and I think she does get the finish probably by submission at some point, maybe by decision. I think it's probably 50-50. Yeah, Tapology agrees here. 50-50 on submission or a decision for this matchup, because at the end of the day, it is a women's MMA fight. But I think she does have some really good grappling. I think she may get the submission probably in the second round of this one. The 78% picked by Tapology. I think it's going to be on the feet a little bit, probably like a minute into this fight, and then she's going to be looking for takedowns and then establish some control. In the second round, I think she's going to end up getting a takedown and then end up getting the submission later on. So I am going to go Alencar by submission, 44% picked by Tapology, 49% picked by decision. Within that 78% picked in total. So I am going to go with Alencar by submission. Up the card, we have JaCobi Jones versus Daniel James Allen. I am going to go with JaCobi Jones in this matchup. This one is a little bit interesting because Daniel James Allen is a really good wrestler. He does train out of AKA with like DC and some of the Dagestani guys that come down there train out of there as well. So he does have a lot of good wrestlers that he does train with. JaCobi Jones, a pretty good stand-up guy. Is decent at defending the takedowns. I won't say he's super great, but in his last fight, he did do a really, really good job at defending the takedowns against a guy that went completely at him, full strength, tried to take him down with everything, and he did a really good job defending it, which I noticed. And I think in this matchup, if he can defend the takedowns pretty early against Daniel James Allen, he's going to be doing a really good job in this matchup because I think that's really the majority of what Daniel James Allen has. I think if he goes out there and wrestles and he can't get the takedown, I think it's going to be over just like that. I think I'll probably be expecting a first round finish for JaCobi Jones if Daniel James Allen cannot get that takedown, because I think if he misses a couple of them and ends up like tiring out a little bit more, by the time JaCobi Jones ends up landing a couple of good strikes on Daniel James Allen, he's going to be shooting for like mercy takedown. Like he's going to be shooting just to avoid not getting hit. So I think JaCobi Jones is going to defend the takedowns early. It's going to be a little bit of a weird stretch there because he's a minus 300 favorite. But again, Daniel James Allen trains out a very good camp with a lot of good wrestlers. But I think the younger fighter, 27 years of age, of JaCobi Jones, has shown to have some good takedown defense. I think he can do good on the feet here. I think he finishes Daniel James Allen in the first round by KO. 51% picked by Tapology here by KO, 19% by submission, and 24% by decision within the 80% of the total that is picking JaCobi Jones. We'll see how this whole entire card goes because I'm not planning on taking too many underdogs, so I am a little bit worried. I don't know how this one will go, but I am going to end up going with JaCobi Jones by finish here. Up the card, we have Shamil Gaziev versus Greg Velasco. I am going to go with Shamil Gaziev. If Greg Velasco wins this one, it will definitely be very, very weird. I mean, we've had main events with Hardwick and that Lopez guy recently. They both lost being super big favorites, so you never really know, but I think Shamil Gaziev should win this one. Greg Velasco does not look that great. I'm going to be completely honest. The dude spent most of his last fight on his back, ended up getting a finish by sliding out under and landing some ground and pound shots right above him. So it was just a really weird fight. He's not that great of a heavyweight. I'm going to be completely honest, but Shamil Gaziev is coming off a win against Darko Stojic. I believe he got a finish against him in his last fight in Brave CF. Darko Stojic, of course, has been in the UFC. I think he's been, 1-3. Beat Jeremy Kimball, lost to Devin Clark, Kennedy Nzechukwu, and Jamal Hill. And although he did fight Shamil Gaziev in 2023, ended up getting cut after that Jamal Hill fight, but lost to Phil DeFries, who I believe is the champion over in KSW. I may be wrong. Well, I think I'm right there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's the champion there, but he lost to him and ended up getting finished in that 5th round. But Shamil Gaziev finished him in the 1st round, and Jamal Hill couldn't finish him, Kennedy Nzechukwu couldn't finish him, and Devin Clark couldn't finish him. So, I mean, it's a pretty good win for Shamil Gaziev. Darko Stojic, a pretty good win to have, especially in that regional scene. But other than that, Greg Velasco hasn't looked that great. Of course, Shamil Gaziev, although he should be a heavy favorite in this one, I would say if it wasn't the fact that Greg Velasco isn't good in my mind, I don't think he's that great of a fighter. I think Shamil Gaziev probably wouldn't be as heavy of a favorite here. So I think Gaziev is going to be better on the feet. He's going to get the finish here. If he wants to use his wrestling, he can as well. But I think Shamil Gaziev ends up finishing him here in the 1st round, probably by finish TKO. I see it happening by, same with Tapology, 93% picked for this matchup, 89% by TKO KO, 2% by submission, and 3% by decision within that 93%. So I am going to go with Shamil Gaziev by TKO finish in the 1st round. I think he finishes or hits him pretty early, knocks him down, and just TKOs him. It's not going to be anything crazy. I'll be surprised. No, I won't be surprised. If it goes over 2.5 minutes, I wouldn't mind it. But honestly, I can see it just being a super early KO. So I am going to go with Shamil Gaziev here by finish. Let me know what you guys think about these picks down below. Who do you guys have in the main event? Well, I mean, you guys should have Shamil Gaziev in this main event, but who knows at this point? It might be even worth putting something on Velasco. No, it's I don't even know why I'm even thinking about that. Freaking Hardwick and Lopez has gotten in my head for this one. But let me know what you guys have for picks down below, and I'll see you guys next time.